Americans haven't ever voted during a pandemic. What challenges have COVID-19 created in terms of election security?
Well, we've got the COVID-related challenges are we need to make sure that the polling places are safe, that they're sanitized, that there's sufficient space for people to line up and stay 6 feet apart from each other as they line up and wait to cast their ballot. We need to make sure that the poll workers and folks participating in the election wear their masks, and we do everything we can to ensure that whatever happens at the polling place doesn't create the spread of the COVID virus. So that's the biggest challenge we're facing. And I think we're up to the challenge. I think our secretaries of state in the 50 states have done a great job preparing their poll workers and preparing the polling places for voting on election day. The most important thing we need to do in face of the pandemic or any other challenge that we're facing when it comes to the elections is to get out and vote. Americans need to participate. They can't be discouraged, and they need to get out and elect their leaders. That's what makes America great, is our democracy and our ability to choose new leaders every 2 or 4 years.
And now in 2016, there is proof that the Russians meddled in the election, and you mentioned that it's likely happening again along with other countries. How are you working to stop interference from other countries in our elections?
Yeah, we're right. We have China involved in meddling with our elections and with our political process. We have Iran involved in meddling in our elections. We have Russia involved in meddling in our elections. And there are actually some other countries that I'm not going to mention today that are involved in trying to interfere with our elections. So the most important thing we do as Americans is we need to make sure that the information you're getting about candidates or about political issues is from a trusted source, and that it's good information. Be skeptical of information that comes from overseas. With respect to the U.S. government, at the NSC, for example, where I'm our shop, we've held over 60 meetings with senior government leaders over the past several months to ensure that we're doing everything we can as a government to make sure our election infrastructure is safe, to make sure we've hardened our cyber operations in the 50 states. We're working with the 50 state secretaries of state, we're working with FBI to track down threats and disrupt threats and those that are, and arrest those who are involved in meddling in our election. And with the Department of Homeland Security, they have a massive program working again with the states to make sure that our elections are free and fair.
And now the Internet Research Agency out of Russia has known skills in pushing around falsehoods online, disinformation. What do voters need to know when they go onto Facebook or go onto social media about trusting reliable sources and what they're reading online?
It's a great question. One thing we've sanctioned the troll farms in Russia, including the folks in St. Petersburg, individually and as organizations. And we've put more sanctions on Russia than any president since Ronald Reagan. So we're taking a very hard line with the Russians, but we're also monitoring what the Chinese and what the Iranians are doing. Going to your question is when Americans go online to get their news, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook or the internet in general, you need to make sure that you know who's providing the information to you. Make sure it's a trusted source, a provider that you believe in. maybe partisan. That doesn't mean it's not trusted, but make sure it's not from some dodgy foreign source that that doesn't look kosher.
And now, are deepfakes a concern yet? Is that something that we need to be looking out for this election, or is that still down the road?
Look, I've seen some pretty impressive deepfakes just in the open source that are on the internet right now. So I think it's something we do have to be concerned about. So if you see something that looks real but doesn't sound right, or that is a little funny, or that you're not seeing on the news, or you're not seeing from any other source, make sure it's real, because deepfakes are something we're going to be dealing with long into the future, and it won't just be with respect to elections. It'll be with respect to celebrities and all kinds of other types of news, sports. So it's important that we keep our eyes out and make sure we're not getting faked out.
And now, in August and today, several times you've said you've been working with secretaries of states across the country on election security. How does Iowa measure up to other states in terms of security? And does mail-in voting pose an additional threat or possibly an additional protection?
Well, I think Iowa's doing great. I met with the Iowa National Guard earlier today, and their cyber unit is working side by side with your Secretary of State, and they're bringing the latest technology and all the skill that they have as cyber warriors, doing all kinds of things around the world to protect the country. They're bringing that expertise to bear here in Iowa. So I'm pretty confident things are going to go well in Iowa. With respect to mail-in voting, there are real problems with it. There's a difference between just mail-in ballots and programs that have been jury-rigged and put together in the last month or two, as opposed to mail-in absentee ballots, which are something that have happened for many, many years, where there are counter signatures, where people sign up to get a ballot. Those programs tend to be safe. This idea where you're just going to send every registered voter in the state a ballot, which some states are doing, that's something that causes me and it causes the president great concern. I mean, we've all seen the photos of apartment buildings with just stacks and stacks of ballots sitting on the floor in foyers and that sort of thing. That's not safe, it's not secure, and it doesn't promote confidence in the election. What we need to do to keep the people that are trying to sow discord in this country at bay is we need to make sure that people are confident in the election. And one way they're confident in the election is if they feel that their vote counts, and if they go and spend the time to wait in line and vote, or they fill out an absentee ballot, that vote won't be offset by one or more phony ballots that somebody goes and picks up a bunch of ballots in an apartment building, fills them out and sends them in. So we need to make sure that we have an election system with integrity so that people believe in it and also believe in the outcome, whether their candidate wins or loses, that they can say, hey, at least we had a shot, it was a free and fair election.
Okay, last question, not election related. Farmers really need a win here in Iowa. It's been a tough couple years for them. China appears to be on track to live up to their agreement of phase 1. Do you think that actually will happen, or do you think the pandemic may have pushed it down the road a little bit?
No, I think it's going to happen. I think if you haven't started seeing the sales already, everything that we're seeing, the statistics we're seeing is that the Chinese are trying to live up to phase 1. Obviously, things have been slowed down because of COVID, and it hasn't been as fast as we want. But I think you're going to see a lot of Iowa corn and grain and wheat and hopefully beef and pork on its way to China. That's one way that China can maintain good relations with the United States, is living up to the agreement. And if it lives up to the agreement, we're talking $40 billion this year and $50 billion next year for farmers across the heartland, including Iowa. And you're right, the Iowa farmers need a break. They've been taken advantage of by China for many, many years with currency manipulation and other tactics that the Chinese have used. But they've also, Mother Nature's been a little rough recently as well. So the president's doing everything he can to pull for the Iowa farmers. By the way, the tariffs that the president put in place have generated a lot of money to the U.S. Treasury, when we're finally make it a little more fair. And the president's spent a lot of that money and has given a lot of that money back to the farmers. So look, the bedrock of America is our farm economy, our agricultural economy. It's what makes us great. We feed ourselves and we feed the rest of the world. And right at the heart of it are the Iowa farmers. And so we're behind them 100%. The president's behind them 100%.
All right, well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Great to be with you, Rachel. Thank you.
You as well.